I'm Catherine Masotsky. Welcome to Bravo Live. This is the digital extension of Bravo magazine produced by the Opera League of Los Angeles. We're a volunteer organization committed to opera education and community outreach. Check us out at operaleague.org for all our events and volunteer experiences. Today, we have Opera League member and community educator Larry Verdugo interviewing Jessica Gonzalez-Rodriguez, member, volunteer, educator, and mezzo-soprano. Enjoy!
Hi, I'm Larry Verdugo, a volunteer with the Los Angeles Opera League. I'm the volunteer coordinator and a community educator. But we're here today to talk with Jessica Gonzalez-Rodriguez, one of our finest volunteers, who has been with the league for, I think, 4 or 5 years. Jessica, why don't you jump in and help me out on that point? How long have you been with the league now?
Oh God, I think it's been longer than that. Since 2012 was when I did my training to be a community educator. And then right into the 2012-2013 season, I began volunteering. So it's been, I think this will be my 9th season, something like that. It's been a while.
Well, thank you for all of that. I'm sure they've been great years. But I'd like to get started with your background to give us a little context. And I know that you're a singer, of course, and that you're also an educator. But since I have this feeling that most opera leaguers are all frustrated opera singers, we'd love to get up there and do what you do. So let's start with that. Did you always want to be an opera singer? Was this something that grew over a process of time? Tell us about that.
Well, I think made the decision to pursue opera in terms of studying it and then as a career with my very first voice teacher, who coincidentally happens to be Melody Fernandez, who's in charge of the Zarzuela project there at LA Opera. So it's a funny connection there. And so she started introducing more operatic repertoire. I really enjoyed it. It was definitely challenging. And I liked it a lot. I decided to then major in it in college, grad school, and then eventually pursue a career in that. So that's kind of how that timeline went.
And so you worked continually at the opera all this time?
Yeah, just kind of simultaneously trying to do my volunteer time and then performance and trying to balance it out and give talks and include that all together. Yeah.
Hey, good. And there's a lot of stories we can talk about a little later.
I know. Definitely.
What is a favorite role? Is there one that you've done or that you dream about doing?
Oh man. I always have like several roles to this answer. I mean, I've sung a little bit of Octavian from Rosenkavalier, and it's definitely a dream role of mine because that role is just so fabulous. So to get to do the whole role would be amazing. Funny enough, a dream role that kind of just happened was when I got to sing the role of Frida Kahlo in Frida. Because I'm Latina, and growing up in the Mexican community, she's definitely been an idol. I mean, since really all my life. I mean, I grew up with her pictures and her images all throughout my life and really idolizing her. So to get to really delve into her psyche and portray her on stage was quite amazing. That was really a dream come true. And then, I mean, for every mezzo, I'm a mezzo-soprano. So, I mean, Carmen, because it's Carmen. And I mean, it's such a fabulous role that you get to sing quite a lot. And also one, I think that also has kind of come later now, is Idamante in Mozart's Idomeneo, which I've learned a little bit of that music, but have really enjoyed it. And it's such a meaty mezzo role for Mozart in one of Mozart's Italian operas, which we don't get a whole lot of. So it's definitely a role I'd like to take on at some point.
I think one of the most amazing things to me when I look at opera singers is that their ability to not only sing some very, very difficult music, but to be aware of the stage, the acting, all of the equipment that comes around with an opera performance, the stage act, sometimes very physical stage acting. Was this something that you had training in, or is this something you learned on the fly? Did you rely on directors? How did that come about?
Actually, I started my performance career as a very young child. I was 4 years old when my parents put me in dance. So I actually was a member of several professional dance companies as a kid growing up. So getting a lot of that stage experience. And I was very lucky that the dance instructors and directors I had not only, of course, taught us all the movement and how to work together as a group with all the other dancers, but how to really create a performance that's engaging for the audience, right? To really capture their attention, keep their attention, right? Really creating that kind of stage persona. And that really helped to hone in a lot of that skill. And so I brought that definitely to opera, having had all of that performance experience. But I have in the past few years, actually, with a few productions that I've been in, where we had some stunt experts and they taught us like how to fall and how to throw like a fake punch and slap and, all those things so that it looks real on stage, but we're safe. And so that's been really a fun element.
Makes you think about funny things that can happen on stage when you have so much going on and everybody going at it. Do you have any favorite stories of things that went wrong that you had to help out with on the fly when you were up there?
I think it was a production of Faust that I was in. And at one point, Mephistopheles is singing like his drinking song and he's toasting and he's supposed to step up onto like this stool. And the stool, I guess, was on its last legs and no one really realized it because it was made of wood. So it looked pretty strong. And sure enough, he's in the middle of his aria. He steps on it and it breaks. Luckily, he was quick enough to get off of it very quickly and everything was fine. But it made a very loud noise in the middle of his aria. Also, the issue of props that are supposed to break that don't. So I was in a production of Bohème and the Musetta. She's throwing her tantrum to try to get Marcello's attention, and she had a prop plate that was set up so that when she slams it on the floor, it's supposed to break into like a million pieces and be this dramatic moment. And so it's during our performance and she goes to break it. It's very dramatic and the plate doesn't break. It just kind of bounces on the floor. And then all of us would just kind of react to it like, oh, well, and we had to keep going, but it was meant to have this big moment.
One of the first Toscas I ever saw, the Tosca angrily threw a glass of champagne at Scarpia, and the glass went through the wall and came a roaring halt as we all burst out laughing at this very dramatic moment.
Right.
But yeah, things like that are just fun. Everybody loves those things.
Yeah, keep on your toes.
I'd like to know where you perform. I know that you perform in a lot of the smaller companies, but could you talk about that process? Because I don't know how many people are aware of how many community companies there are. I've been to a few, and I've always been impressed with, if nothing else, their enthusiasm. How many of these companies have you performed with?
Maybe close to 10, I would say. I don't know if I've ever counted, but something like that. But yeah, I mean, we're very lucky here in Southern California and in California in general. Every county in LA, or almost every county, will have some sort of opera or some sort of classical music in general, a chamber orchestra or choir or something. So there's lots of local employment, which is great. It's been a very great way to just gain more experience, to network, to meet more people, and just to get that performance experience and to learn more roles, which is definitely key to this career for sure.
Now, with your skills and your experience, do you all still audition, or do they call you and say, Jessica, we need you and want you? What's that like?
Well, it varies. It definitely varies. It depends on who's involved on the company. If I know people involved either in the cast or production or that help to direct the company. If not, then generally I do have to audition. So, I'll sign up, I'll send in my materials and audition for them. And many times they look at your resume or they're talking to you and they find out that sure enough, you have a mutual colleague or something like that, which is really great. And then I've been lucky. There have been times where I've had colleagues or people I've worked with in the past who have called me up or contacted me and said, hey, are you available for this? We need, the performance is in 2 weeks. We need a mezzo. Can you learn it? And I'm like, sure, send me the music. Yeah, I'll take a look. And sometimes I've been lucky getting jobs that way. So it varies. It just depends on who's involved, really.
Well, I've been very impressed. I saw you in Eugene Onegin, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
And although you were in the chorus, you really stood out. You have a great deal of presence, and I enjoyed watching you.
Yeah.
Especially since you get to play I think you played a peasant and a richer woman.
In that production, that was with Opera Santa Barbara. We started off as the Russian peasants, and then we said how for each act we get to move higher up in class. So that was kind of like a running joke with the chorus. Because then we had for Act 2 what we called our Pride and Prejudice look. And then for Act 3, it was the Prince's Ball. So we have these giant hats and giant rhinestone necklaces. And we called it our Scarlett O'Hara skirts because they were like the huge hoop skirts, like from Gone with the Wind. So I mean, yeah, it was so much fun. And I actually got to put some of my dance experience to use in that. There's a lot of dance music. So we got to waltz, do a peasant dance, and do kind of a grand ballroom dance. And so that was a lot of fun.
Let's move on to the other part of your life. You're a teacher. I like to think that LA school system has something of a music program. Do you actually teach in elementary or high school or colleges?
Mostly with a private school system in Los Angeles. And I'm a substitute teacher actually at one of the schools. And then because of the pandemic, I actually have moved a lot of my teaching online. And then I also teach music mostly to elementary school level students. So that's been really cute and really fun. And just really teaching them the fundamentals, making it fun for them. So they learn the basics of music while still getting to also learn songs that they hear on the radio or that they enjoy for their particular age group.
I think something related to education is actually your role with the Opera League.
Mm-hmm.
You've been with them for quite a while. What attracted you, and what were the specific activities? Because we have many. What activities were the ones that kind of drew you and said, yeah, this I want to do?
I actually found out about it kind of by accident. So a colleague of mine that I was singing with, he, I think, was part of, through his college, he would go to a lot of the orchestra tech rehearsals. And so he found out about the community educator program. I think it might have been through Jennifer Babcock. I think maybe he was talking to her. I'm not quite sure. Jennifer will correct me if that's true. But I know he was speaking to someone that works with LA Opera Connects. And then he came and told me, he's like, oh, they have this training program. You get to train over the summer and then you can volunteer and give talks for them. So that's kind of how I fell into that. And what attracted me was, I'm a huge opera history nerd. So I love that we get to do a lot of research to prepare for our talks, depending on the topic. But we really delve into whatever production it is we're going to be talking about. And I really like that as a singer. It just helps to add to the information I need as a performer. And I mean, LA Opera is great. They give us a lot of perks in terms of getting to attend like the orchestra tech rehearsals, the dress rehearsals, other special backstage events, the season announcement, like all these wonderful things where you get to see these A-level singers come in and out of that house. And you get to see them rehearse, which is also just a really cool learning experience. So I was like, I can only benefit from this. This is great.
Well, it was the community education piece that attracted me. And I've been doing it for 10 years now. So I appreciate what you're saying. But some of us do like to speak to the kids, some like to speak to the adults. What do you favor? Do you have a favorite audience?
Yeah, I really enjoyed speaking at the libraries. I really like speaking at the libraries because the crowd can actually be kind of mixed at the library. So it can be families, seniors, younger people who are there maybe to study, things like that. So I like that it's kind of a mixed bag in terms of the libraries, and just getting to be in that environment where people are open to hearing what you have to say. And for the most part, I think they've really enjoyed it. I mean, they seem to either already know quite a bit about opera, or if they didn't, they're like, oh, I was just coming to bring my kids to, check out a book, and we decided to stay, and this was really, interesting and fun. And So yeah, I like that. That's a mixed crowd for those types of talks.
But you also volunteer a lot on a different level. I think you know what I'm talking about. Whenever I have to put out the call for volunteers for an event, the one that fills up all the time is the opera prep.
I know it's so true. I always try to sign up for that quickly because it fills up so fast.
I don't have to work very hard on that one.
I know. So the opera prep is really fun where we get to bring students. I mean, they come for free, which is amazing, to one of actually the final dress rehearsal of a production that LA Opera is doing. And it's just a really wonderful experience for them because I like that before the show starts, they usually arrive a couple of hours earlier. They get to go to one of the rehearsal rooms and hear someone involved with the production speak to them. It's usually several people. And most of the time, Maestro Conlon, I mean, if he's in town, he'll talk to them, which is great. And, they get to hear these amazing professionals. Some of them have similar stories that they did. They're like, I grew up in the inner city and my parents didn't have a lot of money, or I grew up like this, or my parents weren't involved in music, but I liked it, or, so things that all the kids can really relate to. And then they get to go into the opera house and enjoy the final dress rehearsal, which is special because you get to see the production staff actually working in the house, which I think is very cool and a great experience for them to see not only the performers and the orchestra, but like the production crew, working with the lighting and the super titles and, with cues, with the stage managers, things like that, because I think that might be of interest to some of them as well. So it's just a really fun experience for them, I think.
To give people a sense of what's involved here, we had one production, and I think this was the biggest one. I think it was our Candide.
Oh, yeah.
Where I think we had almost filled the Dorothy Chandler with students that day. So we had close to 3,000 students.
Yeah.
All under the control of we had about 15 or 16 volunteers.
We generally don't have quite that many that come on a regular basis for the opera prep, but it was crazy, but it worked. I mean, I think all the kids really liked it. They liked the show because the show is just funny and fun and silly. And yeah, I mean, it somehow worked. We were able to just make sure that they were in the right seats with the right school, and then they enjoyed the show. So it was fun.
Yeah, what was fun was so many, and yet all of the volunteers always managed to pull it together.
Yeah.
Recognize the problems, and keep it moving. Right.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, thanks for all of that. And I think one of the benefits for those who haven't joined yet, of course, one of the big benefits, and I'm sure it's why a lot of people volunteer right away, in that it's a freebie. You get to see the show for free.
Who's going to say no to that? I mean, it's an added perk that LA Opera is kind enough to do that, not just for the students, or for the seniors as well that come, but for us, the volunteers. That's really, really wonderful of them. And they're always so appreciative too. Like I really like that Stacy Brightman and Christopher Kelch come and talk to us usually at the beginning of the season in a normal year. And, they tell us, they give us all the numbers, the rundown from last season of how many people we spoke to and how many people in the community we reached, and just really thanking us. So I always think that that's very nice of them because they're busy people. They don't have to do that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the subjects that we have to talk about, although you've kind of hinted at it already, of course, but I think it's one thing I'd like to at least get your feeling on, and that is the subject of what's been happening recently, the pandemic, COVID, and its impact on the arts. I know that we all know, of course, that the Music Center is virtually shut down.
Yeah.
And we have no clear picture of when it's going to open again.
Yeah.
And I think that although Zoom is great, thank you very much, nothing is the same as being up in front of an audience, either as a performer or as one of the speakers, and going into people's homes and speaking. So I'm wondering what that process is like for you. I understand that performers getting up on stage, being up in front of an audience is kind of bread and butter. It's kind of a necessity in a way. How are you dealing with all of this layoff during this period?
I think it happened so abruptly, last March, that we were just kind of not just us, but like everyone was literally just thrown into this new type of situation. And at first it was a little scary because I think people, meaning singers and companies and organizations, weren't sure really how to move forward. I think everyone was just dealing with having things closed, and having to then either postpone or cancel upcoming performances or think of alternatives for those upcoming performances. So it was a little overwhelming at first, but weirdly enough, I mean, it also forced many people to become really creative, because we have so much great technology available to us, not just Zoom, but I mean, countless other means of technology, even with like lighting and microphones and devices like the laptops or things like that, our smartphones that are available to us, that we could make use of them in terms of still putting on performances. And it's not the same, of course, as being in front of an audience. I mean, there's no better feeling than that as far as a performer. Because it's such an organic thing. It's like, it's such an in the moment thing, you know? And as a performer, no two performances are the same. That's what makes it, I think, so special. But I mean, we're in this situation. So many people were thinking, okay, can we do virtual concerts or productions? Or, you know, once maybe it's a little safer in that region where our company is, can we have our singers tested? And then we do like a socially distanced concert, or some companies have done socially distanced operas. Like I know, I think it was Michigan Opera Theater did a ring cycle in a parking structure, I believe.
Right.
I think each level of the parking structure was like a different place, either in Valhalla or on Earth, and like it was like a different scene and location. So like, I mean, it worked. It was really innovative. Or I know Opera Orlando just did Fledermaus, and socially distanced, full costumes, full orchestra. There was an audience, I think, in attendance. They were all like very separated out, so it's a very limited audience. But I mean, it's something. The singers were still able to go on stage and sing and perform, and there were people there, you know, to clap for them and the whole thing. You know, that makes it so fun. And so seeing things like that, you know, I was definitely inspired to do the same thing. So I quickly went on Amazon and bought a lot of, you know, lighting, and I bought like things to have as a background and a microphone, things like that I could afford within my budget. And signed up for many virtual choirs, which a lot of choirs or people that are conductors put together, which was really fun. So we did different choral pieces where we recorded our own part at home by ourselves. Very strange, but by ourselves. And we have the recorded track in our headphones. And then we would send that video, and then it's edited together and magically makes a beautiful choir somehow. And I was even part of Eric Whitaker's, that virtual choir 7, the last one that he did, that had, I think, like 17,000 people that were part of it, or something wild like that. So they made it work. And then I also did a virtual production of Suor Angelica, which I've done Suor Angelica before in front of an audience, but to do it virtually was fun, but also challenging, because it's such an ensemble piece that many times I would get my cues from the other singers. You know, I'm on stage and I'm, you know, playing my part, and then I would listen for that singer, and then I know, oh, okay, my line is next, or it's right after this section, or whatever it may be. And we didn't have that because you're by yourself. So the conductor recorded the accompaniment and was conducting. We sing our part again alone at home in our costume and, you know, with our headphones, get our cues as best as possible, and then they're going to edit that and put that together. So it's been interesting, definitely. The last live thing I did, Opera Santa Barbara was kind enough to ask me and a few other singers to be part of their holiday concert that they had online. So we were all tested. If we all tested negative, which we did, luckily, we were able to go, and we actually recorded inside of the Lobero Theater. There was no audience. They just decorated it for the holidays. We sang a few carols, and then that was added into the concert, and they streamed it online, which was great. So that was really fun, and we were socially distanced. They were very, very, very strict about that. You know, we had to immediately like leave the theater, and then, you know, not be inside together essentially, because it's not very safe.
And that's part of the experience, is it, being with other performers and sharing what happened and how everybody was feeling about it. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Part of it is the camaraderie and the socializing and being
exactly.
with your colleagues. And these are singers that I've sung with many times before, so we're also friends. So it was hard to just be like, oh, okay, bye, So that was a little rough, especially not having seen them for a long time. And I also went to one of or two of, I think, Pacific Opera yes, two Pacific Opera Project's drive-through operas, which was really cool. And it's great. I mean, you still see opera in person. The singers are up there. It was with reduced orchestra, but hey, it's an orchestra. And yeah, we enjoyed it through the comfort of our cars, like you would a drive-in movie. You tune into the radio station, you get to clap or honk your horn when they're done, and it's nice. It's still a live audience for them.
I'm curious to see what the impact of this will be later, or when it all comes to being normal again.
Opera's already going through a transition.
Right.
With a lot of things. If there's, the vaccine is given out within a reasonable amount of time and people are able to receive it, I think we'll still have to maybe be socially distanced or separated, and it'll be like a reduced audience, that kind of thing. I think we'll still be able to do it live. It just will be a different process in terms of rehearsals and in terms of amount of audience for those performances.
There, I thought that one of the options would be to do concert operas rather than staging, so that we didn't have to interact directly and be close to people that way. But that doesn't look like that's going to happen, which is probably fine.
No, I know a few opera houses in Europe did that. They did. I forget who it was. They did kind of a concert-ish version of Traviata. And so they actually, but this was already in the summer where things were still kind of iffy as well, or more iffy in Europe at the time. They actually had taped like boxes with like the colored tape, the striking tape on the stage, so that the singers stay in their box, the chorus members stay in their box, everyone's distanced. And everyone was still acting, and there were actually still props on stage and like smaller set pieces. Like people had glasses for the brindisi and things like that. And when Violetta's dying, I think she had like a little couch and like something like that. But in terms of the interaction, it was more like a distance love, like this kind of thing with Alfredo, than them actually embracing and that sort of thing. People seem to enjoy it. I mean, it still worked and they understood what was happening. So I don't think any of that was lost in that.
I think people miss it too, and you're willing to take anything you can get.
Yeah, people really miss just being together and enjoying something as a collective group,
Here's to a time when, we'll all be together and be able to be speaking rather than on Zoom, but in person. Yeah. And of course, coming back to the opera. Jessica, thank you so much for talking with me for this time. It went very well, I think. I enjoyed it. And learned a bit about you and everything. So look, one day we'll be together and hopefully we'll have an audience back.
Hopefully sooner rather than later. Yeah, definitely. Sure. Yeah.
So I have to thank everybody for watching this. Hope you all enjoy the first Bravo Online with the LA Opera League, and that we will be talking with you again. So thanks again. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Larry.
See you at the opera.
Sounds good.